What's going on, everybody? Welcome in to another edition of the Third Line Jawn Flyers postgame show. Yeah, the Flyers lose again for another time, and this time it was probably competitive towards the beginning of the first period or third period, but it wasn't pretty enough to get the 2 points out of it. With me, as always, is my companion, my brother from another, Joey Marks, from the Pass and Have Sports Show. Joey, how you doing on this tonight, my friend?
From greatness to Ben Simmons, we've covered it all in this game.
Yep,
From the great eight to Couturier pulling a Ben Simmons at the end.
yep. Not a good night. Yeah, I mean, it's just before we go any further with that play, though, it was just one of those plays. I said to myself, like, Konecny had the opportunity just to shoot that puck, and he just flubbed that puck like it was like you said, it was like Ben Simmons, boy. It was just Jesus Christ. But we
Well,
got a lot to get to. We got a lot
yeah.
to get to in this portion of the show. So let's rip the Band-Aid off while we can before we drive ourselves crazy about how this game went. So first period. So basically, the first period, I said early on in my sheet here that it was a lot of action in this first period. It looked like it was a lot of action and a lot of back and forth, obviously, and there was not a lot of stoppages. But Joe, what did you see in this first period that was like kind of been like, I guess you could say, like a little bit of a factor in this game?
Well, I mean, it was a fast moving period. It was not one that had a lot of stoppages, not a lot of penalties, not a lot of offsides or icings. This was legitimately a center of the ice kind of blue line to blue line kind of first period.
Mm-hmm.
And with Ovechkin then eventually scoring the first goal, it definitely shows me that I've listened to some of the stats that JJ kind of spewed out on tonight's telecast, and the part of Ovechkin's game that just astonishes me is that he can score in so many different ways that it doesn't you can almost put a point down every game. But him getting the first goal, Emerson had a couple good saves, but again, it kind of goes back to what we've said time and time again. Emerson, he didn't show a level of consistency with his saves,
Right.
and that's been a big part of the problem. Um, Now look,
Yeah,
the Washington Capitals are a good team
they are.
offensively,
Yeah, they are.
and the part of this that kind of stinks is, and I'll raise this question when we get closer to the
I agree.
grading portion of
Oh,
our program, and that is, who do you grade worse? And I'll let you think on this. Who do you grade worse, Harrison or the defense, like the defensive players
yeah.
for the Flyers? Because at some point, some of those goals were not Harrison's fault, but
Mm-hmm.
as a goaltender, I mean, we saw that plenty of goaltenders face the Flyers that have stopped harder shots and more difficult shots easier. And so for me, it's going to be a question just for you to ponder and think about, and for anyone to ponder and think about, like, what's worse, Harrison or the Flyers defenseman?
Yeah, that's a very good. That's a very good point by you, Joe. I think that's the other thing that we talk about it too, because this game was like, I'm not gonna lie to you. Some of the parts of the game, it was just kind of like it was a snooze fest. Because
Hmm.
especially just the level of just like the patience and all the kind of stuff. I mean, similar to like kind of like the last couple games that they had. Obviously, I wasn't over on for Monday's broadcast, but I think the other thing too that we talked about too was like, yeah, I mean, the thing that really the really thing that I really thought this game was tonight was kind of like the same similar effect of the other games that he had probably in the last two games, but the difference was, I mean, he came out in the third period and actually played actually not bad, but it could have been better though.
I mean, here's the thing: is the Flyers' offense just did not show up and
No,
hasn't in the last three games. Now, well, I should correct myself: the last eight periods, because in the third period they
yeah,
actually did show up, and that's a good sign. But it shouldn't take you eight periods or getting to the ninth period to figure out how to break through that goal.
hmm
Um, the idea with this team is you and I both felt like this game was kind of like a sleepwalking, like the Flyers were sleepwalking through two periods.
Yep.
And it felt like in the third period that these guys kind of woke up and decided that they were going to play the game for real.
Yeah.
And that's not a winning, formula. And
No, it's not.
I'm going to go into this also as the game went on. There was one thing that I've seen in the last couple games, and I'm starting to get a little annoyed. I get that there's a coaches challenge in the NHL, and I get that it's good to utilize it every once in a while. But
Mhm.
when you're not reprimanding your players for poor play and you're
Mhm.
just trying to bail them out with a coaches challenge, that doesn't that doesn't stick well with me
It
because it
doesn't
makes
stick
me
well with me either, Joe.
because for me, it's a matter of the play still happened, even if it was an illegal play or an offside or whatever,
Mhm.
that play still happened. So there was still a breakdown on your players' part of that game. So yeah, I'm of the opinion right now that it's good to use the coaches challenge. They use it to get a goal tonight, and I get all that, but and to take a goal away from the Cap. So, it worked out in their favor tonight. But here's the other part of this is, you know, if you're not reprimanding those guys for being in poor positions or not trying to motivate those guys to be in better positions,
Right.
then we're going to get those sleepwalk games like we did tonight.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's. I mean, it's not like like we expected that things were going to be like, oh, they're going to come out on top tonight. But
Mhm.
I think the other thing too is that usually, I mean, those are games like these ones, like these last couple games like I alluded to. It was like kind of like okay. I mean, yeah. I mean, like I said, it was just one of those games that I mean, it kind of like felt like a snooze fest and kind of slept walk through and anyway, let's get into our highlight reel here before we go one step closer. So the first one came in, and what do you know? It's Alex Ovechkin scoring his first of the game, and obviously inching very closer to Wayne Gretzky's record. Now he's at 7 away from capturing the record. So something to, I mean, that's one of the things that was a positive in this game that Ovechkin scored the goal, but the problem was it was just like yeah, I mean, thank God it's not against the Flyers that he broke the record, but at the same time, I mean, still chasing that record is pretty amazing to think about, Joe.
52 goals against the Orange and the Black in his career, only second to Sidney Crosby. And
Wow.
this is a guy who I have to give more credit than previously thought of. Now Gretzky was the greater player. Ovechkin's got to be the greater scorer.
Hmm.
Although I'm going to give Ovechkin another compliment in this. It's difficult to be one player in any sport for the same team for 20 years. This week we had Brandon Graham after 15 years retire
That's
as an
right.
Eagle. And Alex Ovechkin's in his 20th season with the Washington Capitals.
Right.
This is a guy that at the end of this season, whether he retires or doesn't, has every reason have people tip their cap to him because honestly, 20 seasons with the same organization that has changed over and over around you, and you're still able to you yourself are still able to produce at a high almost Hall of Fame clip. It,
Yeah.
it's it's amazing. It's an absolute amazing story.
It's an amazing story, and I think it's a great accomplishment too for OV2. We got a couple comments here. My dad, Joe Scores, checks in and says he's giving the Flyers video staff a little bit of credit for like both of those challenges that basically would have thought would be going in their favor tonight, but unfortunately, Flyers, like I said, we are on Stream Punk Entertainment and lose tonight 3-1 over the Capitals. So, or what was it, 3-2? Excuse me. I thought it was like that's when you know it was bad because like obviously you thought it was 3-1, and then that goal that happened and all that to make it a
Yep.
3-2 game. Pat Benoit checks in and says we might as well throw Gritty on skates and see what happens. And we all know how to play that the first time when Gritty was on skates. So
Yeah,
I think we can. What's
I
that?
think if we could go up to the front office and ask Keith Jones and John Leclerc and see who they can call, like Lindros and Primo, get some of those guys. I'm sure if we got them guys on skates that they would have a better chance of, putting more fight and energy and whatnot into some of this offense. But this offense, this team needs to be fused with something different, and it hasn't yet been fused with that quite yet. It felt like that was the case early in the season, not so much the end of the season.
I think it's starting to become fatigue more than anything too. I think after playing so many time, so much time, and obviously no break in between with that All Star game and the Four Nations face off. I mean, fatigue could take its toll on its like on the team too. But like I said, I mean, it's no excuse for the last 3 games. Though I
I'm gonna
think.
push back. They're the second young, like they're the fourth youngest team in the NHL. What fatigue do you have as a kid? I mean, you're a
Yeah,
kid.
I don't know either. I look. I mean, unless these players are like not trained right, I don't know. I mean, it's just like I said. I don't know if it's fatigue. I mean, look, I think it is probably fatigue, but I don't know.
You
I
know
mean,
that
you can't be fatigued. That's like especially if you're young like this. I mean, that's just baloney right there, man.
there's something to be said, and I'll have to do a little research on this. So, like in the NFL, like when a college player comes out, they only play like what 12, 13 games in their college season. So when they come into the NFL now and they're playing 17 games, and if they go to the playoffs, then they play more. You know, fatigue is understandable at that point because they've never played that many games in one season in their career.
For sure.
What so that is understandable. So I'm curious if in hockey, like it's the same thing, whether when you come from college or when you come from overseas, whether it's the same thing, whether you play many, like a lot more or a lot less games, and in comparison, because
Yeah.
then I could understand it. If these guys are just, they don't have their sea legs because they're not used to the long grind of a season, okay, fine. Because they've never been used to it, then fine. I get that. That's understandable. If I
Yeah.
can understand that on the NFL standpoint, then I can understand that on the NHL standpoint. But you know what? You're 20, like between the ages of 20 and 25.
You can't be having
They're
no. No, I agree. I agree. No, you're
I am
absolutely right.
not I'm not giving these guys a cop out for
Oh no, no, I'm not doing that either. No, I'm not. I'm not. I wasn't saying I'm calling this team and saying, "Oh, this was a bad performance," but that's how hockey is. I'm not going to pull a Cliff Way and say that's hockey and everything. But
right.
no, I mean, it's just like, I mean, like even like my dad brings up, says Joe's right about the talent level. It's just just not there yet. Excuse me.
Oh, and I mean that's the unfortunate thing. And like, look, we know that this is a rebuild, but we're not there enough. There is a big. You could tell where the separation is between the elite teams and this team. You look
Right.
at Carolina, you look at Washington. We look like we're dressing an AHL team against them,
Yeah,
and just
yeah,
hoping for the best.
yeah. That's true. That's true. Yeah. So let's get into the second period, and this is where I kind of felt like this was like going to be a long night. So the first one came in. It was Matt. I don't know how to say his last name. Duhaney.
Dubini, yeah.
Duhaney. Okay.
Duhini.
Duhaney. To give the Capitals a 2-0 lead. He's a player that they got from the trade deadline, and rightfully so. Gave the Capitals a 2-0 lead.
Yeah, off a deflection. This is what I kind of brought up earlier. What do you grade worse, Erison or the defenseman?
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think it was Seidler.
Sealer.
Basically, Seidler could not clear him out from in front of the zone, and
Mm-hmm.
basically just the guy just set up in the office, as John Leclerc would say, and basically deflected the puck in, and Erickson had no chance because, like, when you have those kind of guys that are just sitting there waiting for the puck and waiting to just change directions, there's no way you can predict where that change of direction is going to go.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not fair to the goaltender, but I mean, we'll get to the grades of which is worse, the defensemen or goalies, in a couple minutes.
Yeah, definitely. All right, so moving on into the second period, the Capitals got another goal, and this was Andrew Mangiapane giving the Capitals a 3-0 lead, and this time it looked to me it was the same kind of result as it was with the second goal.
Yeah, it was another deflection. It was another traffic in front. There was a prior situation where it felt like the Capitals were trying to kind of spread the puck out and spread the zone out on the Flyers. And when they realized that Everson was actually doing well going side to side, um, they tried to put more traffic in front of them. And I think that's been the recipe of success for other teams that have faced the Flyers and Everson is you put traffic in front of him, you blindside him, you put, deflections on him. He's got a real hard time being able to react, or the defensemen have a real hard time clearing out the front. And that's it's just an unfortunate situation. Now at 3-0, honestly, I was thinking
It's gonna be a
Torch.
long night.
I was like, Torch, you gotta pull him. Like me and James talked about this against Carolina.
Yeah,
Like at 3-0, I'm like, I've seen enough.
yeah,
Like, why haven't you? Like, whether it's the defenseman's fault or the goaltender's fault, I've seen enough. And if
yeah,
they're deflecting pucks, put a bigger body in the net. There's more body for that the puck to possibly hit. Like that's why I have said Fedotov should get more playing time, because especially if that's the offensive strategy of the opposing team.
yeah. And that's the thing too. I mean, you think about when Urson has played the last handful of games. I mean, the game on, I think it was Saturday when like I said, it was unacceptable giving up 5 goals in a matter of 2 periods and all that. And the thing that was kind of the same as it was on that Thursday, on that's not Thursday, but on that Saturday night, excuse me. It was like, okay, I mean, now we're giving up like as many goals as shots on goal, to say the least,
Yeah.
too. And the other thing that really bothered me about it too is just like I understand they're trying to develop Urson, but you cannot be. I mean, the thing about it too is like Fedotov actually played very well on
Mhm.
Monday night, and I think he played his ass off. And now it's just like, okay, now you keep on trying to think like Urson could be the guy and Urson could be the guy, but now I'm starting to think like maybe Urson's probably not the guy we expected he was going to be.
Right. And here's the thing. Okay, so he was trying to go for his 20th win. Would have been nice to have for a rebuilding team and a goaltender that is quote unquote the
That's right.
starting goaltender. So here's the thing. I get all that, but if the guy's getting scorched and
Oh,
your
yeah.
team isn't doing enough to protect him, then you need to put a guy in there that maybe will change the momentum for the Flyers. And
Yeah.
that needs to be like, are we going to sit here and say, okay, the reason why you don't put Fedotov in on Thursday night is because he played on Monday? Let's
Let's keep it real here, right?
keep it real. That's not a back to back. Let's just
That's a 3-day layoff. I mean, come
yeah,
on.
let's calm down.
Yeah,
Like,
right?
so the idea that you see how those last 2 goals were scored, that in my mind is enough. I've seen enough.
I've
And
seen
this
enough
is
too.
where Torts, in my mind, needs to put his foot down and needs to if you're going to put your foot down and bench someone like Matvey Michkov because of effort, then you need to do that with your goaltenders. You need to set the same amount of example and the same attitude that you're going to have for your superstar talent. You got to do that to the goaltender too, because guess what? Somewhere in Sam Harrison's head, he still thinks he's a starting goaltender, and
Yeah.
that's delusional right now.
Yeah, that's just delusional thinking. But even the thing we're talking about here on this templater, I said 10 goals in a matter of 3 games, and that's unacceptable. But
Mhm.
it is. I mean, especially what Urson has done. A majority of, I mean, yeah, there's only the 2 goals that Fedotov gave up on. What was it on Monday? I mean, it wasn't as bad as Urson gave up these goals tonight, and especially what he gave up on that Saturday night against Carolina. I mean, I'm not one guy that I want a goaltender to be successful in this league, but the thing about it too is just like even you alluded to, like we continue to push that envelope to say, yeah, Urson finally can come back around. Urson's gonna like finally like have a come to Jesus moment, and like dare I say that, but it's just one of those things. It drives me crazy with Tortorella. He continues to hit himself on the wall until like he keeps on banging his head into the wall, trying to think that Erson will probably finally come out of this, and sometimes he continues to crap the bed.
Yeah, and let's go into where the Flyers actually break into the scoring in this game, and
Yep,
it was kind of like, well, it's about time.
it's about
You
friggin' time, right?
Yeah, and like I didn't honestly think they were going to score this game. That's how badly I felt this game was going.
Yeah.
So you want to recap that Flyers goal?
Sure. I mean, I guess I can just say like in the caption here, it says Paywin finally broke the camel's back. I guess
Yeah.
if that's the only way we can describe it, though. But there's like probably one more other here that Capitals right exactly not even 2 minutes later try to give them a a 4-1 lead, but the hand pass was disallowed, and I guess kind of felt like it was going to give the Flyers a little bit of a pass here after the game they had, and I'm thinking like, okay, the hand pass was disallowed, so the Capitals don't get the goal here, and I'm thinking, okay, now they have to come back with a little bit of momentum here, and rightfully so, they got a little bit of momentum, but like I said, it was just not enough.
With another video challenge that was successful with Sean Couturier poking one into the goal.
Right.
And it's like we said prior to the show, I don't have sight, but I have plenty of eye doctors. I need to contact some of these referees in some of these unions
They're
and
like the Angel Hernandez of the referee world,
like connect them with some good ophthalmologists, because honestly,
for
like
sure.
when you have commentators that are telling you it's a goal from at least 75 feet away, or whatever it is in the press box, when they're the ones saying it's a good goal, and you're right there on ice level and you're not able to tell, that's unacceptable. But
No.
they nonetheless, they get the goal and they make it a 3-2 game. And honestly, at that point, I thought, okay, they have a chance. They have a chance. And once again, it was a matter of the Flyers trying to do too much and not getting enough done in the end.
And that's the thing too. Towards the end of the game, the Flyers had an opportunity, and towards the end, they had to look for that perfect pass. Like Travis Konechny said, even we alluded to as we came on here, they try to look for that perfect pass and try to be too cute, and then the Flyers lose. It was just one of those games that I mean they had the momentum, but the difference I mean they didn't have momentum all game, but that third period, I felt. I
The
think
third period was like where they thought, well, where I guess everybody who was watching Orange and the Black thought there was going to be a momentum swing. So I'm
yeah,
going to pose this question to you now.
sure.
What is more to blame this game, the
Hmm.
defenseman or Erison?
Joe, that's a very good question because because you think about it, the last couple games we blamed Urson for the goaltender he's been playing, so he's at fault for that. I would have to say he's a big portion why the Flyers have scored. The Flyers have given up so many goals as of lately, and then you look at this performance here tonight with the defenseman after giving up like key mistake after key mistake to Mangiapane and also the other guy Duheny to give like the Capitals a 2 and 3 goal lead. So if I had to go where my gut is, I gotta go with Urson on this one.
Yeah, I see. For me, I'm going to say defenseman only because of this. Erison is not an adequate goaltender. We've covered that. But
Right.
these defensemen, Drysdale, Sandheim, a lot of these guys, York, these guys are supposed to be good enough.
Sure. Yeah, that's
And
true.
and they're not. And that's where like I start to get more frustrated. Sandheim is not a rookie. He's not a young guy anymore. He should know how to, lead this team, lead these defensive players to success, and he just doesn't.
Hmm.
And that's where I kind of go, okay, If they can't clear the front of the damn net, there's
Right.
a big problem. There's a bigger problem because if you can't do that, then you're almost giving the recipe to every team in the NHL on how to beat Sam Ersson when he's in net. That's
Yeah.
just the bottom line.
Yeah, that's the thing too. I mean, my dad brings up a very good point here too. Says as far as the defense versus goalie for the lapses, I think it's both. The defense gives up too many chances that even a great goaltender will be in trouble. Like for example, like a Ron Hextall or maybe Bernie Perron. If he was playing in this day and age, I can understand that too.
Yeah, but here's the thing, and this is what I would say to your dad, is that a guy like Ron Hextall and a guy like Bernie Perrant would be yelling and screaming at his defensemen
Oh
to
hell
get
yeah!
them out of the way. Move them. Move.
Yes, yes, for
Because
sure.
he would know, they would know. And this is where I agree with your dad in the sense that it's both responsibilities are falls on the goalie and the
Yeah,
defenseman. But because it's got to be the goalie that yells at him. If that's
yeah,
Ron Hextall and Bernie Perrant, they're like whacking the defenseman with their own defenseman with their hockey stick. Like,
yeah.
dude, move them out of the way. Like,
Right.
I will clobber you with this if you let a goal, if you let a puck squeak on through.
Hmm.
Because it's going to go against my stat line, not yours.
Yeah, and even my dad alludes to too is like even Ursa gave up too many uneasy shots as well. So
Yeah,
that's a big portion too. And
yeah.
that's the thing too. I'm right there with you with all that with the goaltender and also the defensive situation because you think about all the years that the Flyers had in defensemen, and we can go back a ways like Chemo and even Desjardins and the list goes on.
Coburn,
Coburn,
Carl.
yeah, yeah.
Yep.
I mean, they were like the quarterback of the. They actually don't know. No, they weren't the quarterback. They were the quarterback of basically the team that like basically just said, okay, whatever we had to do, we had to help the goaltender out any way we can. Even like they did it in 2010 with Michael Lane. I mean, yeah, sure, Michael Lane wasn't a big like star like we just alluded to, but
But he had defensemen that had his back.
there you
So
go.
they made life easier for a guy that was not like a Dominic Hasek. You know,
Sure.
he was a serviceable goalie, but the defenseman made his life easier.
Yep.
And when you whether Sam Ersson is the guy or not, it's harder to tell when your defensemen are putting your goalie in unwinnable situations.
Hmm.
And I'll be honest, like Sam Ersson isn't, in my mind, a starting goaltender until I've been proven that this guy can he make good saves here and there? Yes, but level of consistency isn't there. Level of leadership from that position isn't there for him. And I
No.
think that's why the Flyers, especially in the offseason, need to go find a guy, a goaltender that may have had some years under his belt and be able to vocalize to these defensemen. Not to say that I don't want a young goalie, but right now, putting a young goalie back there isn't going to have a vocal leader. There's
No.
not going to be a vocal leader back there with a young goalie. We need to have a guy that's going to have that vocal capability of being able to say, get him out of the way.
Hmm.
Um, and like my feeling is honestly, I grade this game as a C minus. I grade it as a C minus because the defenseman and the goalie themselves were bad overall throughout the game. The offense was bad the first two periods of the game, but you had Paling and you had Couturier that are cracking that scoreboard, and maybe some of that momentum starts to carry over. The Flyers in the third period outshot the Caps, one of the most high-powered offenses in the league. In the third period, they outshot the Caps 17-2. So
Right.
this is something to kind of think about, that if you can carry this momentum into Sunday, then that makes a difference.
Yeah, absolutely. And I can like give momentum like for the against the Stars on Saturday and Sunday. Like I mean, they got it back to back with on the Central Swing. So yeah, I mean it'll be interesting. So so for me, I gotta be right there with you with this grade too with the C minus. Not only I was gonna give it a D because that first and second period were a little too much for me, and
Yeah.
I was gonna say it's like. I was gonna say like this team just can't be stopped. I mean, the Capitals look like they were a better team, but then that third period came around and they looked good. I mean, they looked okay, but sometimes just okay is not okay at the same time too. But yeah, I think the other thing that really I took out of it too is that sure, I mean, they gave a little bit of a fight, but hopefully this gives a lot of momentum going into Saturday and Sunday, that back to back between Dallas and Chicago in 24 hours.
Well, let's go around the National Hockey League and put this baby to bed.
Yeah, let's do it. All right, let's check out some quick around the National Hockey League. There's a lot of busy games on tonight here on this Thursday night of NHL action, even though it's March Madness opening day too. So I would expect there's going to be a lot of people watching both. A couple games going final right now, as you can see. Flames winning over the Devils 5-3 over at Prudential Center tonight in Newark. The Avalanche win tonight 5-1 over Ottawa. 1-0. The Panthers winning in overtime against Columbus. 4-3, Toronto over the Rangers. So I guess that would knock the Rangers back out of the post. I mean, I don't know what their standings are in postseason contention. I think the last time I checked, they were in the 8th spot in that playoff hunt. Right now, the Blues winning tonight 4-3 over the Canucks. That was a overtime win. The Islanders and the Canadians are tied up at 3 right now. That's still on right now up in Belmont around the 5-minute mark of the third period. Right now,
the Caps were watching that game because I mean they won tonight, so I think it kind of clinched their playoff spot. But they were also watching that Islanders game too.
Oh, okay. That thanks for letting me know about that. I appreciate it.
Yep.
So, right now, the Ducks have a 3-1 lead over Nashville. I just can't believe how bad Nashville's been, especially with Stamkos and all the other players they brought in.
Yeah.
So right now, tied up at 2-2 apiece is the Lightning and Dallas. That's in the third period. Chicago right now trailing 2-1 against the Kings up at United Center. Jets and Oilers tied up at 2. That's in the second period. Sabres and Utah tied up at 1. That's in the second. A couple games into the first period, it was the Bruins taking on the Golden Knights. And the last game of the night, it will be San Jose taking on Carolina. That's set for 10:30, so that's around 10 minutes or so, excuse me. And there's only one game on the slate tomorrow night. It will be the Blue Jackets in Pittsburgh taking on the Pens.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting to see how the rest of the season wraps up. 13 games left. It's going to be interesting to see how the Flyers and these young players decide to treat these games. You know, the Flyers, while not mathematically eliminated, are all but eliminated from the playoffs this season. And so it'll be interesting to see how that goes for the rest of the season.
For sure. And the last thing we can do here, obviously, is since we're going to be back here, I think we got Sunday on the ballot here, so we'll be back for the post game that day. Will be the Flyers and Blackhawks. I think it's at 3:00 pregame. I think it's a 3:00 matinee game, and I think the Stars game is at 2:00 on Saturday too, if I'm not mistaken.
And I think Sunday that'll be me and you again. And
I would think so.
Is it?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay, and I think just as an announcement for everyone here watching and listening, so that'll be the final Flyers third line Jawn Flyers post game for this season. We're gonna wrap it up because we are turning the page onto the Phillies post game. So keep an eye out on Streampunk for that. Me and James will have you along with Pat with some of that coverage. But for now, I'm going to throw it to James to get us on out of here and say goodnight.
Yeah, that's going to wrap it up here for this edition of the Third Line Jawn Flyers postgame show. I want to thank Joey Marks once again for joining me once again here tonight. Obviously, Flyers lose again 3-2, but hopefully there's a little bit of positivity towards the beginning of the ending of this portion, like you brought up with Third Line Jawn. Hopefully we'll get a couple W's out of it on Saturday and Sunday. All right, now for everyone behind the scenes and for everyone that made it work here, for Joey Marks, for Pat Bernard, and for everybody else here on Third Line Jawn, this is James Scorza saying thanks for watching, everybody. Go and watch some more March Madness because there's a lot more games to get to. But until then, we will see you back here on whenever, maybe either Saturday or Sunday. And stay well, everybody, and we'll talk to you soon. Oh, okay.